Hello, everyone. It has been a bit since I've sat down like this and chatted with you about carnivore, my way of eating, how it's affecting me, how my life is going, the changes that I've seen, the health benefits that I've seen. I've done lots of videos about that, but it's been a while, and I'm going to tell you why. So I've been carnivore now since June. It is currently November, so 5 months ish. I don't know the exact start date, but for sure by the end of June this year, I was pretty much eating meat and all the vegetables had gone out of my diet since that time. And so the first, the first few weeks, I had some adaptation symptoms. See the video about that. So I definitely had some trips to the bathroom and things of that nature. But after my body got to be fully adapted into this carnivore way of eating, I started to notice some pretty significant positive benefits. So again, videos about that, but physical benefits, less acne, less pain in my hand, less joint swelling, things like that. But what was really striking was the mental benefits. So anxiety that I had about always being worried about what other people were thinking about me, for example, gone. Not wanting to even go outside because people would see me and what would they think? Gone. Being able to talk to people and not feel nervous or embarrassed. Getting on a video like this and putting it out on YouTube for who knows how many people to see. Being open and honest and transparent, right? I never would have done that. That's gone. That's the main one, right? Because that's so freeing now. But additionally, better sleep, needing less sleep, but the sleep that I'm getting is definitely higher quality. Energy improvements, just energy through the roof, all of that. In addition to the food freedom that I'm experiencing, I used to count every single calorie. I used to track everything that went into my mouth. I'm no longer doing that. So again, that's super quick. If you want to know more in detail, I have videos about that. I'll try to remember to link them below. But recently, you start carnivore and you have all of these carnivore epiphanies and these benefits and this amazing energy and things like that you never experienced before, and maybe some weight loss, right? But eventually, of course, it makes sense. But those things start to slow down, right? You're not just going to have these amazing every single day, these amazing benefits and new things happening all the time. And in fact, just like everything, there might even be some challenges. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. So I decided that I was going to go and have some blood work done because I've never had blood work, really. I mean, I had it during my pregnancies. I don't know what the results were. I'm sure they weren't taking a lipid panel. They were doing whatever those standard pregnancy blood work things were. And again, my youngest child is now 15. So that's been a very long time. So even regardless of what those results were, they're extremely obviously outdated. I also had a couple of hernia surgeries. They did blood work for those. And of course, again, I didn't look at my results. I don't even know what they tested because I wasn't interested in that for myself. I just knew that they said I was healthy enough for surgery, right? So whatever that was, again, that's been years now. That's been several years. So again, outdated information, probably not a lipid panel, I wouldn't imagine, things like that. But I decided I'm going to go get my blood work, my general, what does a doctor take for an annual physical type of blood work, which included a lipid panel. And I'm going to start by saying that, I requested it. I went in, scheduled an annual physical, which I don't normally do, with my doctor. And I had the bloods drawn. Within a couple of days of having those bloods drawn, I kept checking my patient portal, could not see any numbers, could not see any labs in that portal. But then, before I ever could see any numbers, I got a phone call from my doctor. Now, she called me at 8 a.m., which I am a teacher, as you know. So at 8 a.m., I am teaching, and I am not available to pick up my phone because I've got, 30 students in front of me. But she left a message, right? And I'm paraphrasing here, okay? This is a paraphrase of what she said, but it was something to the effect of, I'm very worried about you. I hope you've had a chance to see your numbers, which I hadn't. They were not in my patient portal. She did not name any numbers, but she said she was very worried. She said that my cholesterol was extremely elevated. In fact, she said it was the highest number she had ever seen. But she did not break it down. She did not tell me HDL, triglycerides, LDL, ratios, nothing. That was pretty much the extent of her message. So after getting that message from my doctor, of course, I went back and kind of replayed in my head my Dr. Berry, my Dr. Chafee, my Dr. Kiltz, my Dr. Hampton, right? All of our wonderful meat-based doctors in this space. And yes, I have been watching those doctors repeatedly, right? Or constantly, right? Not daily, but a lot, several times weekly, maybe. Ever since February, especially at the beginning, and then it definitely was daily because it was Dr. Berry, on repeat, all of that great information. But those doctors, I never had an appointment with those doctors. I never spoke to them in person. That information is power, right? And it is, I definitely believe it. I know that what they are saying about a meat-based way of eating being the proper human diet, I know that that is true. But I will tell you that when your doctor, your personal physician of 20 years, as misguided as she may be, or as, unknowledgeable in this area as she may be, when that person calls you and leaves you that kind of message, because it was pretty severe, extreme, the things that she said. And additionally, at this point in time, I don't think she realized it, but I had no access to my numbers. So I had no idea what my HDL, my triglycerides, my ratios, any of that even was. She was just basically telling me that I was headed for a heart attack very soon. And so I decided at that point that I was not going to call her back until I was able to view those numbers. So the next day I logged into my patient portal, and then I saw something interesting. So it turns out that in California, there's a law or something that says that the doctor receives the blood test first, and then there's a certain amount of time. Now, I don't know what it is, but based on my experience, it's got to be like a 36 to 48 hour time frame. So your doctor gets your blood results first, and then 36 to 48 hours later, those results will become available to you. And I know that because there was a message on my patient portal that said something to the effect of, your doctor has been given your results. You will be able to view your results on this date, basically, so I could check back then. So I was going to wait until that date to check back. But in the meantime, my doctor called and left me a second message, again, calling me at 8 a.m. Again, I was teaching, could not pick up the phone at that time and have that conversation with her. But basically leaving me a similar message, only this time, still not adding in any numbers, not any data, not any ratios, just telling me that my cholesterol was extremely elevated, and that in her opinion, although she didn't say in her opinion, she just said basically I needed to either drastically change my diet or start on cholesterol medicine, a statin. And that was the message. Again, I could not yet see my own numbers, right? So the next day when those numbers were supposed to be available to me, you can imagine I was logging in. I was thinking, okay, so like at midnight on that day, right? They're going to pop up, right? No. That's how I know it's got to be some amount of hours, because it wasn't like midnight on that day. It wasn't even 6 a.m. on that day. I checked at my lunch break. It wasn't then, which is around 11:45. They weren't available then. I went on right after school. They were not available then. And by, 4 to 5 p.m., they were still not available. And it didn't give me a time of day or anything. So they did have an option to request your results, which I did. And within 2 hours, I did receive my numbers. So here's what I discovered. My triglycerides were wonderful. My HDL was wonderful. The ratios of triglycerides to HDL was 0.85. And basically anything under 1 is considered excellent, and is, from what I understand, although I'm not a doctor, this is not intended to be medical advice. I don't have medical certifications or trainings or nutrition certifications or trainings of any kind. But according to what I've seen, that ratio of triglycerides to HDL is a much better predictor of heart disease. And if you're under 1, you're like doing great. So yeah, all of that. But yes, my LDL cholesterol very elevated. And so I didn't have any other information other than the actual particle number on that LDL, but at least I felt a little bit more confident at this point, with my ratios and things. So I did call my doctor back, having seen that number, and I said to her, again, I had to leave a message, right? At this point, we're playing phone tag. So I still haven't spoken to her in person, but I said, I will choose to deal with my cholesterol with my diet. I notice I did not say that I would change my diet. I just said that I would deal with it using diet, because that was like option A, right? She gave me option A, diet. And then I continued to do some research, because what was funny was the cholesterol is right at the top of those results. The cholesterol information and numbers right at the top of that lab report. But they took 5 vials of blood and did many more tests, most of which were green, looking good, all my numbers. But my thyroid number came back out of range. My TSH number came back out of range. She did not test a T3. She did not test a reverse. I believe it's reverse T3. I believe she tested a T4, and that came back normal. But my TSH was about 2 points over the range. So I had to do some research into that, and I believe what I found was that does mean that I have low thyroid. Now, I believe that Dr. Berry might recommend some further testing. After seeing that those numbers were out of range, I did watch a Dr. Berry video about that, and there are more thyroid tests I believe that he would recommend. So yes, I am planning on asking for those. I don't know if I'll get them, but I will ask. At any rate, though, I did a little bit of research. So the very first thing I did was order some iodine. So I am currently doing 2 drops of iodine a day. And the other thing I noticed, whether it be through the low-carb doctor space or even just Dr. Google, that if your thyroid is low, you will tend to have high LDL. Go figure. So my doctor mentioned to me, the only thing she mentioned, and in very urgent and strong terms, was my meat-based diet is unhealthy, is what she is saying to me. That it is imperative that I immediately change that diet and or go on a statin. End of message. Like, she did not mention the low thyroid at all, which left me feeling kind of alone, especially when I researched that the low thyroid could be one of the causes for this higher HDL number. She didn't mention that to me. And also, I feel like I was left alone to figure out my thyroid on my own. Well, I don't know anything about thyroid. I mean, I know a little bit now because I did some research, but I don't know much. And the other thing that was a little low was my vitamin D. Now I feel more confident that I can fix my vitamin D. Like, I know how to do that, right? There's get get out more in the sun, put my skin in the sun. We're heading towards winter now, though, so I have started being very diligent because I do have the vitamin D supplements. I had not been taking them, so I've been very diligent about taking those. But I will tell you, so I'm doing this iodine. I did research that that's going to take several months for that iodine if it's going to help, or any changes in the thyroid. It's not something that's going to happen quickly. It's going to happen over time. But I was very disheartened, to say the least, that information or that help was not included in her phone call to me. She did call a third time after I called her and left that message, and stating that she appreciates or understands that I want to deal with this through diet, but that she does want to talk to me. So leaving messages back and forth, she feels, is not enough. She wants to talk to me. I believe she's going to tell me what diet she feels I should be eating, and give me specifics on that, because she's just very concerned about that number. Then she tried to call me again in the evening, and I was live streaming. I was not available. So again, she left me another message, seeming upset, a little upset maybe that we had not connected. And that's kind of where we are. I called her back after my live stream and left a message back to her because it was 6 p.m., not expecting her to pick up, but just saying that I did get her message. And then also I had some questions about the fact that my thyroid was low. And my vitamin D. So she now knows, that's now on her radar, right? So we'll see how, if any way, she deals with that. But all of this to say that even though I'm carnivore, even though I believe that there is a proper human diet spectrum ranging anywhere from, low carb to ketovore to carnivore, all of those diets I believe can work for people, can help people, can heal people, their metabolism and things like type 2 diabetes and all of those things, right? For me, I lost weight and all the things I mentioned earlier in the video. Mental health, huge. When your doctor, your standard American diet doctor, straight up leaves you 4 messages telling you that you're killing yourself, and that this is going to happen probably sooner than later, basically, that is emotionally hard to take. And I hope that those of you out there can appreciate maybe, or this maybe resonates with you, how emotionally hard to take that was. I thought I was prepared. When I went in to ask for that blood work, I thought, yeah, if my LDL comes back high, it'll be fine. That'll just roll off of me, right? No, when my doctor came back and said those words, I don't say to me, but on my on my answering machine, that shows my age, on my voicemail, right? That was not easy to hear, and especially repeatedly. That was not easy to hear once, nor was it any easier to hear it repeatedly 4 times at this point. So that's kind of where I am. This is part of the reason I have not done a blood work video just to share my blood work, because I feel like I'm still smack dab in the middle of what is turning out to be a very interesting story. Another thing that I did, so basically I don't control her reaction, right? I don't control when I can see my blood results, apparently. I get them when they feel it's necessary or beneficial to release them to me. But one of the things I did in addition to the thyroid research is I thought, okay, well, I have high LDL. I at least know about particle density size. And so I don't have a doctor helping me with this. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Own Your Labs, which I did. And if you don't know about Own Your Labs, it's a website. It's just Own Your Labs. I don't know if it's .com or whatever, but I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find it. I went through them and I ordered a particle density test. And I had those bloods drawn on Monday, so less than a week ago. Today's Saturday, so like 6 days ago, Monday, I had those bloods drawn. Again, it was a different lab, but a similar message. So your lab results have been sent to your doctor. In this case, it wasn't my personal physician. It was the Own Your Labs physician, because a physician has to order labs, and so they have someone on staff that does that. So I could tell that they had received my labs, but this time it stated a specific date and time of day when those would become available to me. And that was yesterday at 2:05 p.m. And so I am actually happy to report that my particle density came back just about as good as it could be. So while my overall LDL numbers, particle numbers, are quite high, I'm in the 75th percentile. And by the way, a meat-based diet can raise your LDL, and low thyroid can raise your LDL. So I'm doing two things. So it makes sense that my LDL is elevated, quite high, with those two factors involved, right? Anyways, but my number of LDL particles is significant in the 75th percentile or a little bit above that, right? But then when you look at the particle size, so from what I understand, again, not a doctor, not a healthcare professional, this is not medical advice, but from what I hear from other doctors and things online, what you want is the large particle LDL, because that is a transport molecule used in your blood to carry the fat around. It is the small size particles that you do not want. Those are the kind that might tend to get, stuck somewhere and start creating plaques and buildups in your arteries. So they give you all these numbers that I cannot decipher because I'm not a doctor. But down at the very bottom of the report, they tell you in very simple and clear terms, it is a long, skinny rectangle that goes from green to red. Okay, green being good, yellow is, in the middle of there, and then red on the other end. And for my small particle density, my small particle number, it is so low that I could not be any lower. So they put a little arrow pointing on that line to where you are. So it is green and it is all the way over to the left. Like it literally, if it went any further to the left, it would be off the graph, which means I have very few of those small particles. And if anyone out there knows how to read this result better than I do, because I'm sure there are people that do, like, I don't really know how to read this result, right? I'm just doing the best I can. Then looking at my large density or large size particles and those numbers in that density, there's a red bar and a green bar. So first of all, I'm on the green bar. So my particle size is large, which is what you want. It is so large that it is only, I can't remember, but it's about 4/10, either 4/10 or 6/10, one of those two, away from the largest possible on the graph. So take that to mean that even though my LDL cholesterol is high, perhaps I'm a lean mass hyperresponder, or perhaps it's high due to my low thyroid, or perhaps it's high due to my meat-based way of eating, or perhaps it's high due to a combination of any of those possibilities, right? But my LDL particles are large and fluffy. I think Dr. Boz says that. They're large and fluffy. And I feel okay with that. In fact, I feel good about that. Now here's where I sit. Do I give that information to my physician? Do I let it go and be content in my own knowledge of these things? Or do I present it to her, right? I've had advice either way, from people either way. If you want to chime in on the chat, feel free to chime in on the chat and let me know what you would do if you were in my shoes. I hope this video maybe helps someone who has gotten blood work or is considering blood work with a physician that is, as trained in the standard American way of thinking, right? The standard information about cholesterol and lipids, and is still, of course, they're all trained that way, but like some of them have broken free from that and done their own research and understand things a little bit differently. My doctor clearly has not. She's still very steeped in and believes in a very traditional way of thinking. So that's where I am. I'm left wondering, do I present that to her or not? And I'm hoping that if any one of you out there is considering blood work or has recently gotten blood work and has been given a similar message by your doctor, maybe this helped you. I know that at first I was a little bit not paralyzed. I don't want to say that, but it was like shocking a little bit to hear those words and like, well, now what do I do? Like, she didn't really tell me what to do other than change my diet or go on a statin, which I don't want to do. She's not the boss of me, so I know that, right? But then you're still kind of, it still kind of leaves this Like, what do I do feeling? So what, again, to reiterate, what I did is I took it into my own two hands, right? I got some further testing done, which did help. I went and did some research into my low thyroid and started doing some things, which I believe will help. I hope will help. And I'm going to get future blood tests to see if it did help, and then go from there. So basically, I took things into my own two hands, did some research, got some more results. I am going to ask her too if she would consider a CAC. So if she will do a CAC, I'll probably go have that done. I cannot afford to pay for that out of pocket. And if you don't know what that is, it measures the amount of plaque in your arteries. So we will see what she says about that. She tends to be kind of low, like she doesn't do a lot of actions. Like she's probably going to say no to that if I had to guess, because she doesn't tend to like want to do a lot of things. For example, I wanted my hormones tested in this blood work and she refused to do that for me. Even though I'm 48 and I feel like maybe they could start to fluctuate sooner. I'm wondering if they're starting to fluctuate. I will say though, I did ask for an A1C and a fasting insulin, and she did not understand why I wanted that, but she did agree to that. So I did get those. And if you're curious, my A1C was 4.8. My fasting insulin, strangely enough, also 4.8. So both of those numbers were very good. If this has helped you in any way, please like this video or subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and comment below if you've experienced something similar to this, because I know sorry, that's my microphone, in my way of eating, in this community, what has helped me more than anything is those of you that have come alongside and said, I relate to that, I've experienced that, you could be describing me. It's those stories that have supported me the most, and I hope that I'm supporting some of you in the same way. So thanks for watching, and I guess I'm going to go meet some wellness. One large, very large, apparently, LDL cholesterol molecule, is that a molecule? I don't know, particle at a time.